on our program, The Platform, and we are speaking with three young leaders in the Centerville, Bain, and Grantstown area, and we are talking about youth development. We have some social problems that are real,
Yes, sir.
and they all stem from dysfunctional homes, eh?
So it's,
Indeed.
yes, poverty.
Poverty.
Poverty is the key. Brings
Hardships.
dysfunctional home. You know, they say money is the root of all evil, Mr. Jones. No, it's not. The lack of money is the root of all evil.
Did anybody teach you that you ought to work hard and go out and be ambitious and get a job? Did anybody tell you that? No?
No, sir.
Were you taken to church?
Yes, I was. My grandmother occasionally sent me to church.
Your grandmother occasionally sent you?
Sent me to
What do you
church.
mean sent you?
She told me to go to church. Either St. Agnes or the pastor gives in church.
Okay.
And I would occasionally go. So I was schooled in the Bible. But school in the Bible is one thing. The church is a building, and you go into the structure. The word of God is preached, but is it received?
But you didn't listen. You didn't obey.
No, sir.
You didn't obey the word.
No, sir.
You decided that you were going to live a life on the streets, right?
Yes, sir. Because
You were one of these fellas who just decided that you were going to be a bad boy. Huh?
one of thousands.
Yes.
One of thousands who decided to make that choice.
And you found that attractive.
Yes, we found it attractive because
What was so attractive about it?
it's just like we were young, so young people wouldn't make mistakes. If we don't have the proper structure, we don't have the proper community center, we don't have the proper teaching. What I'm referring to is like a pastor, coming around to see you again. And most of these kids who we're talking about, we must remember that their parents were on drugs or their father was in prison. Okay, so you're talking about a dysfunctional home. So bad choices will be made because as the child grows, hey, he will make a decision as a man instead of a child because the parents are not around.
So you think you were failed by the home, by the school? You went to school?
I went
Yes?
to school. I wouldn't say I was failed by the school. And I wasn't saying I failed by the home. I'm saying I was deprived of my mother and father. The responsibility what they were supposed to be teaching me, was not present in my life.
Yeah, but there were community leaders. There were church leaders.
No, sir.
You didn't have church leaders?
No, sir.
You
Not,
did,
not in the inner city community.
did you have any role models in your community at
The
all?
only person I would vote for is now deceased Archbishop William Thompson.
Yes.
Him. Other than that, in our community, it was just chaos. Okay, sir? Just chaos.
Just chaos.
Just chaos. Young people on the streets, watching their mothers. So let me show you and tell you. I watched my mother getting coke on the side of the road. Why is I going to the shop for my grandmother? But not only her, not only my mother, my friend's mother, who I hanging with. Why is I'm going to the store? She is on the side of the road. I get my school uniform on, with my grandmother help her wide. I'm going to school because she tell me go to Mr. Moore's store. On my way to the store, as I'm going to the shortcut, I look to my right and I see my mother with a crack pipe in her hand, with a bunch of guys around her. And she is there doing her thing, and all she could do is look in my eyes. So what kind of experience do you think that is for me? Since I make the bad choice, I made the bad choice. So how I'm supposed to register this in my brains, and this is my mother, who I love, how do you think I would feel?
But your grandmother was there teaching you right from wrong.
Mr. Jones, my grandmother, do not come outside. She is a godly woman. She's now deceased. And like I tell you, she teach me all the principles. But the outside world, sir, it's a whole different picture.
That was powerful.
It's a whole different picture. It's a
The
whole,
negative influences outside your grandmother's house.
you get rapists, you get drug dealers, you get drug abusers, you get armed robbers, you get thieves, you get people who sexual abusing, you get people who get AIDS who die, like flour on the streets. You get people who toting knife, you get people who toting gun, you get neighbors who don't like one another, fighting against one another. That's what we grew up in Grantstown, in Baintown, in Camp Road, the young people of that generation. And
Is it still that way?
it's still that way, but we're trying to make it our best to make it.
We're trying to make a difference, and you know, it is tough to make a difference because you can be on one street and violence can be happening on the other. You know, you get an hour or two with these kids and they have to go right back to their lifestyle, which is 24 hours. You know what I mean? The same lifestyle where their mothers, most of the mothers can't feed them, where they have to go into these, most homes where no lights outside, you know what I mean? Remember the old outside outlets? Mm-hmm. You know, most of the homes still have that, you know, and you know, we tend to say this problem is a government problem, but you really and truly, it's a community problem. You know what I mean? You're
talking about outside toilets?
Pardon me? No, I'm just saying these are some of the things that these kids have to go through.
Yes,
So
yes.
It's not easy, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
It's the basis of where I'm coming from. You know what I mean? You have mothers with 6 and 7 and 8 kids, and the reason why these single parents having all these kids is, you know, the doctors are telling them we can't tie you off because you're not married, and you know, it's everything leads to business. I spoke to someone of prominence and I said, listen, let's create these programs. Let's divert the attention to something else. Give the kids some sports to do. Teach them some type of sports. Bring in people from the national basketball, national volleyball, and national soccer. You know, I have friends that are willing to come into the community and assist. We want to create programs. They said, listen, in crime and chaos, there's opportunity. So I have to step down. If someone on high up is telling me this, then that means I need to keep that area the way it is because that's business.
Who high up can be possibly telling you that?
Mr. Jones, come
Yeah,
on,
yeah,
man.
yeah,
That is a street code.
No, yeah. Who can be telling you in this community not to have positive programs for young people?
Well, I'll tell you that off air. But I'm surely not going to tell you that on air.
Okay. But didn't you disabuse them of that? Didn't you say to them?
No, I said to them, I said, listen, I expected different from you. You know, but the conversation ended abruptly. They went where they was going, so they basically didn't want to hear what I have to say. So sometimes you just leave some things, because if I was to get into it one-on-one with someone because I think something is right and because I think I want change and they don't, they're decision makers, you know, or they're close to decision makers. They weren't the decision maker, but they were close to the decision maker.
Okay. Have you engaged other young men or people of your age bracket in what you are doing in your community? I know that you have your own organization, so you do as well, Mr. Thompson and Chipman. Have you engaged other young men who you grew up with to participate with you in your various organizations?
Yes, sir.
Yes. That's the goal, you know what I mean? It's always the goal to expand.
All those other gang members in Border Boys, and have you engaged them all?
Mr. Jones, I started a chain reaction in the country. Many places now who went into this community leadership stuff really followed. We started with Sir Lyndon Pinland because after meeting with Sir Lyndon Pinland, he always said that you're a leader. You need to go there and make a difference in your community. So talking to them and being the leader that he was and meeting them, it changed me as a person, because now he's telling us, hey, you're more than just a guy who out there can bring harm to your country. You're a guy out there who could go represent and bring change.
So he inspired you?
So he inspired me, and that's how I got into the community aspect. In fact, I got appointed community leader by none other than Senator Trevor Wiley and the Honorable Perry Gladstone Christie. I was certified because as I changed my life, they gave me a certificate. And ever since, I've been encouraging other young men across the country who have become community leaders. Guys just like myself. Shaggy is one. Omar is one. There are many more. I helped Carlos Reed. We worked together to get him started with Peace on the Street. Nelson Cooper was one of the gang leaders who assisted Carlos Reed and Miles Monroe when they came down to find the problem, what was affecting the young people years ago in this country. So ever since, I've been encouraging, speaking out, talking, and then many other persons came along. And it's a chain reaction. Shaggy now is doing the same thing, and he's bringing other people along. We are the first line of defense in this country, so honestly speaking, because many of us work in the trenches, and we have to go out there and solicit funds from persons from the States, Florida, and here in the country. And then we have to be able to be transparent with residents in our community to make sure that once it reaches our hand, we give it to the right set of people. You know, so this is what we do.
Thompson, the institutions in this country failed our youth. Home, school, church? Have they failed our young people?
I wouldn't say that. I think as we have a body works together. Your hands, your feet, your mind, yes, your head, the heart, they're supposed to work as a team. If we put too much pressure on the government itself, it's not gonna work. You know, most of the young guys we deal with, young females we deal with, school takes care of a majority of their day, and then the home takes care of the other part. The streets take care of part of it also. So if we work together as a team, that's where the community steps in as community leaders. Work together as a team, I think we could keep the body intact, but I guess everyone have to be on that same level. I have a lady, she have about 5 or 6 kids, 5 of them, 7 kids, 5 of them are boys. I've been working with them, boys, for the last about 6 years. They're now like 17, 18, etc. But I saw years ago that, you know, it's to have 4 or 5 brothers. That's a gang itself. You know, that's a team. And if you don't take control to try and do as best you could do, and as a community leader, not financially being helped, only so much you could do. But I try to follow up to the schools and, hey, you know, what's happening with the guys? You try to follow up and get some of the church, like, you know, Pastor Rule and Carlos Reed and persons like that. We try to get to them and stuff. It's like a reaction, like networking. Like stuff what I can do, I would call Valentino. Something that could happen, we call Shyan. Or I could call a Reed or some of that sort to deal with that labor. Yes. But at the end of the day, your question you ask, it has to be a combination of persons together. We can't be detached from each other, or this would never ever like see the light of day. Because I know they said that this is the modern generation or the X generation where they gonna fail. I don't think they fail. I never think someone can fail. You know, you could bring the worst out in someone, and I could still sit down and say they could make something out of themselves. We are in Bean and Grandstand and Centerville, all the prime ministers come out of the area. So Linden, Hubert Minnis, and Hubert Ingham, both of them, all 3 of them. You know, Hubert Ingham came out, they call it in the valley on the other side by down there in Marquis Street area. You know, so Linden came out of Centerville, Mr. Minnis came out of Grandstand. You see, so we have, and that's what I teach and speak to the young boys. And I said, man, when they see that, they open their eyes like, what? They used to be around here? Yeah. You know, another prominent person in the city would always gives back to the community is Craig Flowers. He sometimes come around and he drop off stuff and like, hey, you know, man, put something together for the boys. You know, it's simple little stuff. And I always try to God to indulge myself to be around persons much older than me because I learned from them. You know, and I try to go back and sit back and teach the young guys because, you know, so much of the young guys, the young persons itself, they think they know so much. So.
You think you're making real progress in these areas?
Yes, yes.
You see, it's within the home that the influences, be they good or bad, come to bear on the mind of the developing child. It's the home. It's the home.
Yeah.
Bottom line, home. We have a real problem of parenting in our country.
Serious problem.
Parenting.
Yes, sir.
And unless you are able to deal with that, solid parenting, because parents determine where these young children go, what they do. They infuse in them the value system that they need to grow up as adults in the community.
Yes, actually.
So,
go ahead.
You might be dealing with young boys on the streets, but do we have organizations in these communities dealing with parenting?
Yes, we do.
Because you indicted your parents. Your father was in jail, your mother was on the street hitting coke. You had a parenting problem.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes, and that's the problem today.
So have you people zeroed in on parenting?
Yes, sir. See, I was able to muster, having time and addressing to be in the community and grow in. So what I was able to do, I say, you know what, programs is good, but what about the parents? So we was able to form an organization called Lenahan Bahamas.
Lend hand.
Lenahan Bahamas,
Okay.
where this guy from the United States of America by the name of Lucas Metropolis heard about me and was introduced to me by the Melis family, Alexander Melis, the president of the Ranfley Home. And one thing he did is when we met, he saw what I was doing in the community with programs at my home, and he said, what I can do to help. And I said, we need a community center established in this community that assists the community with parenting classes, anger management classes, training the kids, bending the tree while it's young. So we were able to muster up $200,000, $300,000. A lot of places from around the country donated. I don't know who these places is. I could go from the Greek family, the Moscows, to even the Hollowescos, to the Pritchards, the Red Butler Turner. Everyone donated, and we built the center in 4 years' time. This center is fully functional every day because it's funded by a vast majority of persons who care about the program.
Where's this center?
Lewis Street, on East Street.
What is it called?
Lenahan, Bahamas. That's the name of the organization. It's called the Ed and Nora Dorset Community Center. The property was donated by Ed and Nora Dorset, now deceased, and they also partnership with the organization to make this happen. And we have parenting classes, which has been very effective in our community. Crime is down in our community, which is a crime-riddled community from my time to now. If you look at Grandstand Notch, Lewis Street, Hay Street, and Taylor Street, statistics-wise, there were shootings every day. We were averaging 2 to 3 murders per year in our community, right, with police corner off our streets. We're the first community in this country where the police were standing up on each and every corner and advising the general public to do not drive your car to Lewis Street, Hay Street, and Taylor Street. Okay, sir, twice. That's how dangerous it was in our particular community. Working together with places like Salem Union Baptist Church, which has a mentoring program for families. Working with our Big Harvest community, Pastor Ferguson, former Assistant Commissioner of Police, one section of Grandstand. Working with East Street Gospel Chapel Church. Working with our Reverend Cooper's Church. All those programs together has been able to make a dent in our community because not only they're giving away back to school, which was not heard of in the last 5 years, but all of them giving back to school. All of them having programs for females. All of them having a program for kids. So they've taken the pressure off the kids. And I must repeat this. You could go do your statistics. Since we started this program in the community, crime has decreased tremendously in our community. There's just one component left, empowering people. All we gotta do is add empowering people now, sir, and we see the decrease in crime in our country. Empowering right now. It's our #1 priority right now.
All right, when we come back, we're going to talk about what you mean by empowerment, right? We take this break here on our program. We'll come right back.